If you know anything about cars, you'll know that this is the logo for Audi, 4 interlocked rings. But have you ever wondered why that is? This was the result of the creation of Auto Union. This company was a group of 4 independent car companies, hence the 4 rings. It was the predecessor of Audi as we know today, but I mention these rings because after researching the meaning behind the logo, it got me very interested in the company where they originally came from, so I decided to make a narrated history video about it. We're going to talk about the history of Auto Union itself, as well as all 4 brands that merged into the company, so let's go back to the year 1885. 2 German mechanics, Johann Baptist Winkelhofer and Richard Adolf Jaenicke, opened a bicycle repair shop in Chemnitz, Germany. The company was established as Winkelhofer and Jaenicke. Later on, they decided to make bicycles of their own under the Wanderer name. The success of these bikes eventually led the company to change its name to Wanderer Werke AG. It grew into manufacturing many different products, including motorcycles, office machines, and finally started producing cars in 1913. When the Great Depression came in 1929, the company was divested and its assets were sold off, except for the automobile division, which became fully independent but retained the Wanderer name. After leaving his job as a product manager with Carl Benz, German engineer August Horch formed Horch and Ski on November 14, 1899 in Cologne, Germany. The first car manufactured by Horch was built in 1901, which had a 5-horsepower twin-cylinder engine. The next year, he moved the business to Reichenbach im Vogtland and again in 1904 to Zwickau, where he turned it into a joint stock company. After a dispute with the board, August left the company in 1909 and decided to create a second car company with the intent of competing with Horch. August initially wanted to call his new car company the Horch Automobilwerke GmbH, but the Horch name was already a registered trademark for his former car brand, so he couldn't use it anymore. One of his business partners suggested in a meeting to translate his last name into Latin, which became Audi. So in 1910, he founded Audi Automobilwerke GmbH in Zwickau. The first car produced by Audi was the Type A, followed by the Type B in the same year. Shortly after the First World War ended, August Horch decided to leave Audi and work at various other jobs. More on him later. Danish engineer Joachim Skafte Rasmussen, who founded Rasmussen and Ernst in 1902, built a factory in Schopau to experiment with building a steam-driven car in 1916, calling it the dampf-kraft-wagen, or steam-powered car. Unfortunately, this project was unsuccessful, so he started developing 2-stroke engines in 1919, originating as a toy, and called it des Knabenwunsch, or the boy's wish, and put them into motorcycles and called those das kleine Wunder, or the little wonder. All of these German names shared the same initials, which led Rasmussen to register DKW as a trademark in 1922 and started branding their motorcycles under the DKW brand name. A year before, the company was renamed to Schopau Motorwerke. In 1928, DKW became the world's largest manufacturer of motorcycles and produced their first car, the Type P, powered by a 2-stroke engine. Also in 1928, DKW became a major shareholder in Audi. And finally, 4 years later, Audi and DKW merged with Horch and Wanderer to form Auto Union AG. As I said earlier, the logo consisted of 4 interlocking rings to show unity within each automaker that merged into the new company. All of the brands retained their name and original logo, and they were assigned different market positions based on price and class of cars that were being made. DKW was chosen to be the most important brand, and Auto Union's headquarters were initially located in DKW's head office in Schopau. The brand was responsible for developing motorcycles and small entry-level car models with front-wheel drive. These cars were designed to be simple, practical, and reliable, making DKW the best-selling Auto Union brand. Wanderer was the company's mid-range brand and was responsible for making medium-sized cars. Unfortunately, many of the early models built were considered to be bland at the time, which led them to introduce sporty-looking cars to give it a unique image of its own. Some examples include the W25K Cabriolet and the W51. Audi was responsible for developing medium-sized cars in the premium range. The brand was very successful for its front models, meaning front-wheel drive, introduced in 1933. These came from DKV models as they were known before for their front-wheel drive cars, and they acquired Audi. Succeeding the front models was the Audi 920 in 1938, which was also a relatively successful car. Finally, Horch was the top-of-the-line brand, producing large luxury cars with top quality, which the brand already had an excellent reputation for. The brand focused heavily on developing 8-cylinder engines for most of its models, such as the 830 and 853. Overall, when Auto Union was formed, it became the second largest car manufacturer in Germany after Opel. August Horch, the founder of both Horch and Audi, served as an executive at Auto Union until his death in 1951. The company also had a Grand Prix racing team between 1934 and 1939. Their biggest competition came from Mercedes-Benz, and the rivalry between these two led to a very famous nickname for the race cars, the Silver Arrows. Auto Union won 25 races between 1935 and 1937 and set incredible speed records over those years that would take ages to beat. Then came World War II. Auto Union was heavily impacted by the war. Production of civilian models across all of its brands were halted in May of 1940, and the company only produced military vehicles since then. The last Audi model from this era was built a month earlier, while the very last Wanderer models ever built were rolled off the assembly line in 1942, and there has never been an attempt to revive that brand since. As for DKV and Horch, it's a different story. After the war, Germany was divided after the Soviet Union occupied what later became East Germany in 1949. The company was in ruins, but the former executives, including August Horch, wanted to bring it back. However, all of its factories were in the occupied East Germany, so they were forced to re-establish the company in the West as Auto Union GmbH in Ingolstadt, Bavaria, on September 3, 1949, with a new factory in Dusseldorf opening the following year. Meanwhile, in East Germany, the former Horch factories were taken over by the Soviets and started producing new cars there under the same brand name. The last Horch branded model was built in 1958, and the brand went defunct the following year. West Germany was struggling to recover from the war, and the citizens were in need of more simple, reliable, and cheap transportation. So, Auto Union brought back its cheapest brand, DKV, and continued staying true to their roots, producing small, front-wheel drive cars with two-stroke engines, as well as motorcycles and vans.
Ja, DKW ist wieder da. Zehntausende von DKW-Fahrzeugen wurden bereits aus der neuen Produktion der Auto-Union geliefert. Große Werksanlagen entstanden in Ingolstadt und in Düsseldorf. Hier sehen Sie die neue RT 125 mit dem millionenfach bewährten DKW-Zweitakter. Und hier das große DKW-Schnelllasterprogramm mit dem unverwüstlichen DKW-Zweitaktmotor und dem kurvensicheren Frontantrieb. Und endlich die heiß ersehnte neue DKW Meisterklasse mit unvergesslichen Fahreigenschaften als formschöne Limousine und schnittiges Cabriolet.
In 1959, Auto Union was sold to Daimler-Benz as a fully owned subsidiary. A year before, the Auto Union brand name itself was resurrected on its own car models like the 1000, which was a rebadged DKW 3.6 but with more power. Unfortunately, around this time, two-stroke engine cars were becoming less common, and yet DKW was still focusing heavily on making these cars. Finally, between 1963 and 1966, the very last DKW model, the F102, was built. It was also the very last West German car model to be built with a two-stroke engine, which simply goes to show how obsolete they became. Auto Union and DKW's financial troubles continued to grow, which led Daimler-Benz to sell the brands to Volkswagen. From there, the DKW brand was terminated in West Germany, but DKW branded cars were still being produced in South America under a different owner until 1969. But Volkswagen decided to revive another old Auto Union brand, Audi. Based on the F102, the first car produced under the modern Audi brand name was the F103, which proved to be a much more successful car, mainly because it had a four-stroke engine rather than a two-stroke. This led to a big path in success for the company. In 1969, Volkswagen bought NSU and merged them with Auto Union to form Audi NSU Auto Union AG. The company would be renamed to its current name, Audi AG, in 1985, terminating both the Auto Union and NSU brand names, and Audi would continue making cars from there. So that is the history of Auto Union and the full history behind the four rings. Even though the company itself is defunct, its trademark and legacy still live on in today's modern world with Audi. The company has had a very unique history, and I've always wondered about the history of the four rings. In 2021, Audi revived the Horch name as a top-of-the-line trim level for the Audi A8 exclusively in China, known as the Audi A8L Horch. Today, the Auto Union GmbH trademark is responsible for managing Audi's heritage operations. But what if Auto Union was still operating under its four brands today as it did in the 1930s? What would the models look like? Thank you for watching this narrated history video. As always, feel free to let me know if there are any errors or important information that I have missed in this video, as well as any corrections in pronunciation of names, because I know I butchered a lot of those, so I deeply apologize in advance. Anyway, I also want to give credit to any sources that were mentioned in this video for information and media files. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to get the latest updates of new Polara YT videos. I will see you next time for another video. Goodbye.